Hello and good evening, everybody. 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 Let me mute that. It is time for the first episode of Do You Think Tank or Dut? We're going to be getting started just a minute here and dragging some people into chat. I'm starting this off solo for a minute for a very good reason. Tonight, I will probably be looking at the city for most of the night, not moving my game. We will be having some guest speakers in chat tonight. We're going to be discussing some of the upcoming changes to the game that were announced earlier today and later today because we had quite a bit of stuff dropped on us today. The Discord is going to be a lot more locked down tonight. We are in a special Discord. If you want to join that Discord and you have not already, that is the link. The rules for tonight are pretty simple. We're going to keep it civil. We're going to keep it intelligent. We're going to keep it not necessarily positive, but constructive. We do have moderators that are going to be handling Discord chat, stream chat, and voice. The purpose of tonight is to get a good amount of feedback in stream chat and in the thing. We have people that are going to be working on keeping logs of important things in chat. So when we submit this to InQ tomorrow, they'll have timestamps for things so they can, know where to jump for things. So there'll be a lot of stuff getting covered tonight. The main two things are to make sure that tonight we are being civil, we are being constructive, and that we are working on a positive direction for the game that we enjoy. If somebody is being, to be blunt, somebody's being a dick, they will have their roles removed in Discord and be muted for a set period of time until they can calm down. The biggest thing about tonight is we have to remember everybody has different opinions. Those opinions are based on how they have played the game, their experiences in the game, and their experiences in life. So we have to respect everybody's opinion. Just because it might be different from ours, don't always make it wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and let my moderators know that we're going to get started and start pulling people into chat. Grevlin? Okay. If you're in Discord, you may be getting pulled into the chat I'm in right now. Make sure you're keeping an eye on that, unmuting yourself when you're in here. We're going to start off tonight with a little bit of a smaller circle. We have our moderators in chat on hand. We have Smallville, KBLA, and Drac. We have also Ami Ziva from DIA, and we have Gelda from Boo. KBLA is representing... KBLA, are you there?
Yo!
What's the org name you're representing tonight, brother?
New Genesis.
New Genesis? Gotcha. Smallville is representing Crash Industries. Abaticus is representing the asteroid miners and all of us. Also helping with keeping notes on key time frames and stuff like that when important stuff's going on. So other people will be getting dragged into channel later for voice. If you want to be dragged in for later, make sure you're in the holding tank for Studio A. If any of the moderators want to jump up to the Studio A main chat during stream at any point to kind of see what's going on up there, please feel free to. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Are all of the moderators in the actual stream chat as well?
Yeah, I can see that.
It's not updating. There we go. Okay, can the moderators, KBLA, Smallville, can you guys say something in stream chat for me so I can make you moderators in stream chat as well? Okay, you two have mods, so if you look at the bottom of the chat, you'll see a little sword now. You can click that, and it'll take you into mod view, okay? Groovy?
Cool.
Okay, so we are discussing tonight the stuff going on with the game changes in regards to the core count. We're going to discuss core count first, organizational core count restrictions and changes on how that's being handled. Later on, we'll go into the other things that were announced this evening. So if you have opinions on the things that were announced later this evening, please hold on that till later. Our main focus right now is the construction slots, or the core slots. Organization, construction slots, core slots, all that stuff like that. Hold on. Might also have a Waka in here too.
I sent a message out to Silva and Physics as well, but Silva said that she's kind of sick and not feeling up to it. She's got a headache right now.
There we go. Okay. Sorry. Well, this is a new setup for me, so it's going a little bit differently. Now, you guys will notice I have turned off all the timer bots, so you won't have all the regular timer bots you have in chat. There's nothing promoting my stream, nothing's promoting my Discord or my gaming group or even my building. This tonight is strictly focused on this. So, we got people in chat. Draco Stan, Gilda, KBLA, Smallville. I'm going to let you guys go with it, start the conversation like we normally do. Get into it, guys. How are you guys feeling about the whole org count changes?
Well, I was thinking maybe you should go over the dev blog really quick to start out with, and then so that everybody is viewing this.
Ooh,
so like that way it'll bring up conversation. I'm pretty sure everybody start talking then.
Okay, organizational core slots or organization construct slots. Several months ago, we suggested a way to address the issue of cascading organizations being created as a way to circumvent the soft limitations on constructs and territory numbers. We all know this has been coming. They've talked about it several times, so this is their second attempt to address this situation. The first attempt to address this situation would have been a lot simpler. And I hate to say this, but we bucked on it. And this is a now more in-depth attempt to address this situation, and I think we might have been better off going with the first attempt. Hindsight's 20/20, right? But the solution they're doing, essentially how this is going to work is an org is going to start off with 0 slots. Members are going to have 2 types of slots. You're going to have your personal construct slots. Then you're going to have a series of construct slots that are designed to be given to a particular org. Every 30 days, you will be able to decide if you want to leave those with the org they're with or move them to another org. Players start off with 15 of these assignable org slots, core slots, and they can go up to 25 with skills. So if you have an org of 4 members, you can potentially have 100 constructs. If you have an org of 8 members, you can have 200. And it goes from there. Now, the issue we're going to have with this is there's a lot of things that people could, change them every 30 days, so you could lose them, things like that. And also, these construct slots will have to be on active accounts. So you can't create an account with a 30-day time code, use the construct slots, and then not resub it. You will lose those slots. Players can assign these slots to any organization of their choosing, whether or not they are a member of the organization. That's a key thing right there. I'm thinking this is going to end up becoming a type of market situation. How much are you willing to pay for my core slots? There is a 2-week lay time for constructs being abandoned if your core slots are removed from your org by members. So say you lose faith in your members, they all remove their core slots from your org, you have 2 weeks to assess, reduce, or get other core slots. They're saying the new upper limit will be 1,625 cores for an org. Now, I'm sure that will be with a lot of members. So the larger orgs will have a very large advantage in this, in some regards. However, as we all know, everybody has 5 orgs. So it's going to be a rough one on deciding where you want your core slots to go. This is going to seriously force group mentality and teamwork. This is going to, this is a sledgehammer effect style of forcing organizational cooperation. If you want to have more than a few constructs, you can no longer freeball it and go your own. So, that is the basics of what's going on. I'm going to post the link in stream chat.
So let me get this straight. So if somebody joins and they're paying and they only paid for a month and they joined your org and then they decide that I'm not going to subscribe anymore, those cores will be taken away from your org later.
When their account is no longer subscribed, those core slots will go away. Yeah. And we now have a Waka in chat. Waka, sorry about the delay, brother.
Well, how about if we start talking about why we think Dual Universe wants to do it the way they're doing it?
Okay.
I think that's a good way to start.
I mean, I've heard a lot of things thrown around today. I mean, and guys in chat, make sure you guys are feeling free to talk. Get involved and fill in your opinions, okay? That's why you're here. Like, speak up. This isn't a me dictating the conversation kind of thing, okay?
Yes, I'm reading the chat and Serapus's stream, so...
Yeah, read the chat, respond to people in chat, give people's feedback, go for it. But one of the things I've heard is a lot of people will see this as a oh my god, we need to cut our server costs. By restricting the number of core accounts, it's their way of reducing server requirements and cutting server costs, monthly server maintenance fees. Because the servers that they're renting are not cheap. They are expensive. Now, my big concern is if that's the case, is this going to be a snowball effect? They cut cores, players leave the game, profits go down.
I don't like that, NQ in some ways recently has put that burden, mainly server costs, on the current player base for multiple regions. But one thing that I don't like with this system is you can feel like you log into the game and you're standing on this construct and you think to yourself, this construct costs me $1.10 a month to own. You know, like with how efficient DU players are, that's what it's literally going to boil down to. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, this ship, right, that I want, that Serapis built or Loaded or Tic Tac or Gotcha or whoever, you know, Toby, whoever, like, is it worth $1.75 a month to own this ship? I just don't like that. I feel like it boils down to that.
Yeah. I mean, I've played other games, like Empyrean. Okay? One of the servers I played on Empyrean was a small private server, but we were not really restricted on what we had. It was a well-built server. It was well set up. It wasn't a cloud server like Amazon or anything like that, but it was a very well set up server. And, I mean, we had massive PvP fights with 40, 50 ships involved, and it was just all knockdown, drag-out psychotics, you know? But I have to wonder, you know, if a building, owning a single building, is that much detriment to the server cost. I know it's stacked up in bulk and magnitude and everything like that. Is this the correct response? I mean, the whole doing the auto headquartered tiles, if they wouldn't have done that, that would have cut the dynamic structures down by tons. Or the static structures down by tons. You realize how many things would have been automatically abandoned if they hadn't done that, and now they're forcing it anyway. I mean, just the abandoned structures alone would have cut building counts down a lot.
I think what happened is I think they overestimated the amount of players that were still playing. And when they did that, you know, they figure, oh, there's still so many people playing, you know, that, you know, there's only going to be a handful of these things going to get lost. They're going to get auto done anyway. So the minute they released it, and only a fraction of them were, you know, actually unclaimed, and so many just went autoed that they're like, holy shit, there's still a ton of tiles on here that are no one's playing anymore on those accounts, and they're just sitting there now and auto homed.
Master Architect, I agree with you. A lot of people here would actually agree with that. Most of us are more than happy to pay, you know, up to $15 a month for the game. I mean, we really are. We paid that for flipping World of Warcraft, and I mean, come on. If you're willing to pay that for WoW, you want to talk about a dead-end storyline. I mean, it's basically rinse, repeat, do the same thing over again with a different boss that looks different. You know, it's... Yep. But people are willing to pay $15 a month for that. Multiple accounts of that. EVE Online, same thing. People are willing to pay $15 a month for 30, 40 accounts for that game. Or more. So, I think that is one thing that would be a positive thing for the company if they would actually stop trying to undervalue the services. Because that's what they're doing right now. They're setting a pattern for undervaluing the services they're providing. The scale of the world they've given us to build in and play in is much more valuable than what they're putting the money for.
I'm going to jump in here now because it kind of ties into what you just finished and answering Grevlin's question.
Okay.
NQ has always advertised this game as a builder's game. It's a creative game. Get in there, build your own unique place, your own unique static, your own unique ships. This is going to hack this off at the knees, and people are just going to leave because we can't have builders reliant on their product, trying to sell it in the game to make money, but only selling to a limited base because no one's got the cores to be able to buy their ships to. You can't have a player base coming into a game anticipating to build communities, cities, massive projects like your castle, Utopia Station, huge, IC Spaceport, and then only then when they're in the game realize, oh, hold on, we don't have the core count because we don't have the member count to give us the cores allocation we need to build something big. And it's those big ticket items that get the publicity in the general gaming press, in the general press, that will bring people into the game. And it is
the core count stuff limits. Okay, so why is there a reason to build a static core other than L now, right? Like there's 3 other sizes in the game. Why would you do it? Same with, like your
new players starting out issue. That's new players starting out, and it's easier for them. They'll start small.
But then I guess they tear it down at some point and replace it,
upgrade it.
Yeah, but like as a more advanced player, right? Like they're totally eliminated. You would never use that because it's just inefficient.
Like Randu just had a point there, just a little bit back in chat. He says about when I play MMO like ESO, things that you have to work towards, like mat and gear and progress, harder dungeons, get better gear, and so on, grind. But in Dual Universe, like you guys were just saying about, it's a game built based on building. With a low core count, he says, with a low core count, I will be done and nowhere to go unless I want to delete something I've already built.
Okay, guys.
That's what they're pushing.
If you want to turn on your cams, you can. I have everybody's things up where it lights up. Okay.
Okay.
It's 3:00 in the morning here. I don't think people want to see my face.
I'm just saying, if you want to, you can. Right now, it is going to light up with who's talking, so they can see
also,
who's talking.
If the 17 cores that's personal or whatever, just like, why does that need to be a talent? Just like everyone just gets their personals, and then we can worry about how many an org gets. But also, something I was thinking about back at the beginning of the conversation is, do we all agree though that there needs to be a change? Like in the first place?
Yes, it does. The infinite thing is a problem. You shouldn't be able to make an infinite number of ships. That is a thing that needs to be an issue. That is an issue that needs to be addressed.
That is true, but the way they're addressing it is the wrong way. Okay, this is going to be my opinion, so brace for that. The problem, and NQ have acknowledged this in the very dev blog that we're talking about, the problem is people being able to create nested organizations to be able to get that unlimited core count. If NQ fixed the nested organizations problem, this core count issue would effectively go away.
Yeah.
Because there is already a core count limit. It's 275 odd per organization plus the 17. So with one personal org and your personal core count, it's just under 300 constructs. I think we would accept a reduction in that organization core count again, which we had 6-8 months ago, in order to control the server costs, because we understand it's expensive for NQ.
Yeah.
But they need to address the fundamental problem which is causing this issue in the first place. And it is not that people have holding too many cores.
I think the issue the solution they presented to us before, with the only being able to be a super legate of one or maybe 2 orgs, they went with 2 orgs, but I think 1 org, a super legate of 1 org would be fine. Only being able to be a super legate of 1 org, so you could only own 1 org. That would force, if somebody wanted more than 1 org, they're going to have to pay for another subscription, which
and get rid of
contributes,
or become as part of a council of directors of an organization.
Yeah.
In that, okay, I'm going to reference my own org, DIA here, is we have 3 principal organizations. We have one, which is our DIA main, which we have a majority of our structures in. We have an industry, which we keep all of our factory and some of our logistics ship in. And then we have our defense, which is we keep all our warships in. That way, we manage not only our access, but also our core counts. We recently restructured to take away 2 of our organizations because of the proposed changes to the organizations that they were going to implement.
Yeah.
And so reduced our core count. And now this is just going to hit us again. And we are going to have to seriously consider literally just deleting out of the game some of our major structures, which were the the value added of coming into our organization in the first place. And now we can't offer that to our players because with this change potentially is going to not allow that to be available to us.
Or you have to somehow manage to scrape together the cores from your friends or buying them from people or whatever, and there's all the other stuff we talked about or mentioned, with that going away or whatever. But like, I can see on the one hand, like if you have the cores, and you get the cores from other people, like for us in NG, like a big concern is the graveyard we have, which is ships we've killed, and then the constructs there that are like, took time to build just like everything else. And I think right now we're pretty much leaning towards just keeping it all, right? Like,
yeah. I think honestly the biggest thing that we're looking at is they made slight adjustments to it. Not necessarily saying change the base level, but change the amount of cores that become available for each skill level. Make it time investment. So, each level. So, say you start off at 15 or 20, and then each level you get 10. For each, and it goes up from there. That alone would help a lot. If you play your personal cores from a builder perspective, if they were to just double my personal cores from a builder's perspective, from 25, I think it is, to 50 with max skills, from a builder perspective and ship designer, that would save me a lot of headache. Because I could have the ships I'm working on building under my personal name and it wouldn't be an issue. They wouldn't affect the org that I'm in. Because right now, having somebody who is a ship designer in your org is a detriment to your org. Because they're going to wipe out your ship build, your core limits quickly.
well, also too, a French player I play with brought this up, and there's a language thing here, but we're an MMO, kind of an MMORPG. We don't have any classes, but let's say like the class structure is this: like the builder gets more cores, the fighter gets less, and that's a whole in-depth system and stuff. But like, for me, I feel like everybody interacts with org structure differently.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem. This game is too dynamic of a system. It's not like World of Warcraft. You have set roles for people, and then you also, with your builders, you have the problem like me. I'll be working on 10 different ships at the same time, easily, because my brain jumps around.
Right.
Then also, you get what Ami said, there's no guarantee those cores will be kept in org if a player donates them.
Yeah.
They should have brought this system out with a contract system. Okay, I might give XVX shipbuilding 10 of my cores for a year at this price or no price. I mean, they got the in-game mission system. They got the contract system in there partially. They could have just added to that and brought it out together with this. Yeah. So orgs would have a sense of guarantee. I have these core count for a year, 6 months, 3 months.
Yeah,
I agree. And then because the knock-on of that is if a player decides to leave an organization for whatever reason, an organization can find potentially critical infrastructure cores just suddenly go abandoned with no warning whatsoever. They get the 2-week notice and they've got to scramble to try and find someone to pick up that core, that core allocation. But the other side of this is, it's a darker side, is it can also be used for warfare. You have players infiltrating other organizations, donating their core allocation, giving a grace period so they can ingratiate it into the core, and then maliciously removing their core allocations to critically damage an organization's infrastructure.
That was one concern I've actually had a few PvPers bring to me, is they're concerned that, if you had 10 different people join an org, I'll give you half my org, just say it's half of them. Say they'll give them 10 each or 15 each, which is half of the max. Wait 30 days, and then all 10 of those players pull them and drop the org. That's 100 to 150 cores that org suddenly loses. And you can't tell me 2 weeks is enough time for them to be able to recoup and reorganize for that. That's going to be a headache. That could really...
Give me as a point there. This mechanic
Now-
is bringing a
Okay.
potential for someone to
I
grief
was
an
going
org
to
as well.
comment on what Jimmy DeHaan. It's funny how NQ always uses one variable. Why not use multiple skills, numbers, territory, zone to create a construct loop? If we're going to get anything done, or we're going to influence anything, we need to find solutions that are, like my grandfather used to say, use the KISS rule. Keep it simple, stupid. The less complex of a solution, the more likely it is to be implemented. If you start getting too complicated with the solutions about adding in different variables and adding in too many things, they're going to look at it and say, that's too much work. Because we do have to remember, they are still working on a budget. They are still working on time limitations, and they are still working on, they have to pay these people doing the coding. So, if we want things to be changed, they have to be changes that can be done within the current structure of what's being presented to us. Adjusting amounts, adjusting values per skills, those are simple changes they can make that will help without requiring rewriting the entire structure. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Makes sense to me. I'd like to go a different direction and ask you guys a question and see what you guys think. I mean, it seems like to me that, okay, they want to cut cores because they want their servers less expensive, right?
Yeah, they
That's
also
where
want this to perform better.
and perform better. Okay, so there's they're having problems with how much money they have, so they don't have money to pay for it all. So how do they limit their output and also maybe increase income? So it seems to me that I'm looking right now at a board that's doing an animation in game. How come they don't allow advertising of outside advertisers to come into the game and say, hey, I'd like to submit this in your game that they can use to put on my screen, like Coca-Cola advertisement? Because I would love to put advertisements all over my station.
That would be actually amazing. Could you imagine like Ember City when I'm looking at, well, you guys can't see it because the camera's covered, but that'd be cool for like Ember City. I could put like billboards up and there would be select options that I could go in and pre-do that would be advertisements for the different companies.
Yeah, and then NQ would get money out of that. That'd be a revenue.
And players would love it. It would make things feel more real, more authentic, you know?
Or a skin store.
Yeah, skin store or whatever.
Yeah,
skin store is
in the
actually.
game.
It still takes dev time for a skin store because you need graphic artists and the CAD modelers to apply those skins.
Okay, so just advertisements and let the Coca-Cola company, make their own advertisement and they just submit it.
It's a nice idea. The problem with the way that current advertising works in the real world is companies pay for a certain amount of exposure. So for a certain number of magazine sheets to go out, a certain number of TV ad slots to go out, they cannot offer that service within this game because there is no guarantee of the view numbers that companies require through advertising contracts within this game.
Okay, so don't the screens become active when someone gets near them? Don't they? So if they come active, can't they get a count off of that? Like this
yes, they can.
But
it's not going to guarantee. So for a company to advertise on TV, the contract will say this ad will run 5 times a day for 2 weeks. We anticipate a certain number of views based on our viewer count of the channel. There is simply not that level of guarantee in this game for viewer count that NQ can be an attractive proposition to a major company like that.
Yeah, agreed. And it's just too hard technically.
They can't afford the servers. They can't afford the servers for a building game. Then we don't have a game. They want more people to play, but limit play. I think that's a big concern. A lot of people have that concern. If they limit things, you're going to lose players. If you're going to lose players, then they have to further limit things. It's kind of like a snake eating its own tail. Are they being self-destructive in this?
Well, we kind of like at the beginning, we all agreed that something needed to be done, right?
Yeah.
And so been pointed out that maybe the original thing was supposed to stop nesting, and this is a different type of approach to that. I don't know, we've been asked a few times, maybe some of the people here want to answer this, what would be a more acceptable number then? If the 17 plus 25 seems like it's too few, what seems more realistic? And if you're answering that, what also tells your background. Are you a solo player? Are you in a big org?
Well, as Therapist said earlier, we need to keep it simple. And the simplest thing is turn off the fucking nesting. If they just turn that off, yeah, it would kill a lot of the orgs and the way they do stuff. But, I mean, we have 225, 250 slots right now. And we were hit really hard at Customs. We had to split our org into 3 orgs to get all of our slots done. And they're not nested. They're individual orgs. But we had to move our cores to 3 different orgs for all of our cores. And I've since spun up a whole nother org just for mining units. And I capped it the other night.
Okay, so one person, I saw a question, where did it go? Okay, Gremlin said, how about if a player does not log in for a month, all their cores disappear? No. The only thing this tied to is account subscription. If the account is not subscribed, then the cores disappear from availability. As long as the account is subscribed, the cores are available.
It kind of seems like we went from one extreme to an even worse extreme when they announced it back a couple months ago. Because they said they're going to limit the number of super legates that you could be of. How many orgs you can be super legate of. And the community went into uproar, threw their, raged on the forum, all that. So they pulled it back. And then here we are a couple months later. We went from one extreme to a worse extreme.
It's like, you guys didn't accept what we had the first time, so now we're really going to hurt you. This is your punishment for not accepting
I feel
what we had.
They rolled a bunch of stuff. The only way this makes sense is that they rolling together a bunch of stuff that, in their thought process, they're like, okay, well, this ticks this box, and this box, and I mean, something does need to be done,
but this is the lazy way to do it.
People responded with 100 cores, right? 125 cores, if it's that easy to pick a number out that people wouldn't be so displeased with, then
I don't think it's the laziest way to do it. I think it's more the cheapest way to do it, probably, for them.
Well, yes, that's kind of what I mean. Is all they have to do is go into the server backend and change a number.
The first time they announced the whole super legate thing, most orgs went and readjusted their orgs to accommodate for that. What they suggested they were going to be bringing out, even though they eventually just dropped it. A lot of I know I did moved all my things over to one single org and got rid of my other orgs. And the solution that they had wasn't a bad one. Yeah, it was bad for some bigger orgs like Captain's Customs who were really going to get hit hard, and there's a few other out there that's going to have the same problem. But it wasn't a bad solution. It was just maybe bad timing.
I don't think so. I think a lot of people were just so angry about it because they thought it was going to cost them so much effort in game to reorganize this stuff. Yes, it did. I mean, a lot of organizations did it anyway in anticipation of it coming, and were quite rightly frustrated when it didn't come. But it's really only going to affect a very small number of organizations at that kind of level. And the organizations at that kind of level have enough people at legate and super legate level that they trust as part of their community in order to handle separate organizations to be able to handle the core counts in this particular way.
I just wanted to say something for everybody that's listening in. We have a lot of people in chat, and I don't read that fast. So if you don't get a response back real quick, maybe you want to put it up again.
I'm trying to keep up with it as well.
Yeah.
Keep them coming. If you have something to say in chat, guys, keep talking, and we're going to do our best to keep up with the chat.
Do us a big favor in chat. If you're making a statement, don't break it up into multiple little things. Just say what you're going to say in one statement and send it. Okay? It makes it a lot easier to read. Honestly, if I had my choice on slots, like how many cores they could give me, I really think 50 to 100 personal, no more than 100. Like I would feel weird more even at 100. I think 50 personal core slots would be a good balanced number. It's enough for a player to do stuff, but not absurd. I think with the org slots, keep the start at 15, but instead of doing only 2 per additional level, do 5 or 10 per additional level. And if they did those 2 changes, it would make this much more bearable and much more realistic.
Yeah.
And those are very simple changes.
It is very simple changes, but it still doesn't address the problem of nested organizations, and it adds in this significant problem of orgs not being able to control their core counts, and it opens wide for malicious behavior. And that is two things NQ should not let themselves be exposed to, because that will kill this game.
I've got an idea on that, and when we look at this, it's going to require trust on both ends, because people are going to have to trust their orgs, going to have to trust their members more than we've seen so far. And so what you do is you allow people to give that core to the org, and the org decides when it is relinquished. So you wouldn't want to give it to orgs that you can't trust, because there's a two-way street there, and that way orgs can't get screwed over by this.
I think that's a good idea, but I also have a different opinion on it. I'm thinking that when they were talking about they have 15 cores to give to an org, but then they can upgrade it with skills to 25. I don't think individuals should have those skills to upgrade it to 25. There should be a skill for leadership to be able to bring up all cores to 25. So basically, the individual would have 15 cores to give, no matter what. Then if the org had leadership skills, which they already have leadership, because that's a leadership thing to bring up the amount of cores, and then those would be given to the org automatically. So if you have a member in it, they would get 10 cores per person in their organization. And then they can be given another 15 by the individual if that person wants to.
So what you're saying is the players would have the 15, they could delegate how they choose to, but they would also have a default 10 per member to do it.
Well, only if the organization has leaders that had trained their skills into that area.
Okay.
So there would be a base core count per org member, which is completely passive. As long as there is members in those organizations, those core counts are allocated
right
for the
now
org
it's
to
zero.
use.
Right now it's 0. But it could be 1, 2, 3 up. It's probably going to go, since we have 5 skill levels usually. So it'd be like 2, 4, 8, 6, 8, 10, basically. So depending on what your skill level is in it.
Yeah, Blinding Bright. I'm in the same boat with my castle on Alioth. I mean, I have Alioth. I have that huge castle with all the cores, the M cores, the shops. I have our showrooms. Those are all under my orgs. And then I have Ember City. That's all under my orgs. You know, I think personally I represent over 600-700 core slots, and that's not even. That's with Okay. I had one argument put to me today. Organizations like IC. IC has over 100 members. I was asked, what, you're going to tell me they can't get enough people to add 3 core slots apart? Pop? No, they can't. Because the reason why a lot of these orgs are so big is because they market themselves, in a way to where they expect you to be in another org. They don't expect you to exclusively be in their org. So a lot of these members are going to use those slots for their own personal orgs, not to support IC.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, that's been my biggest problem with this. Is you look at it mathematically, if most people have more constructs already, then they're going to use them themselves, and there's not going to be any left over. And most of us have far more than 42. So where do the extra ones come from?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Shiremar, Therapist IC did a poll, and most people that responded cannot donate cords.
So yeah, I mean, obviously, this is one of the knobs. At least there's a knob here too. I mean, we could kind of go in circles and offer suggestions, but I think at the end of the day, another big thing to point out is that we agree there's a need for a change. We think they should increase the number, but what else do they need to know? Like, for me, I kind of feel like someone brought it up earlier. There's like this roller coaster that seems to happen where like one day it's good, the next day it's super bad, the next day it's good, and maybe that's partly our fault, but like, how do we figure out what to tell them? Because they often ask like, how can we communicate better? And like, let's give them the answer.
I have an answer for that personally. I want to see what you guys think, but it's just be more open and honest about what you've already weighed, what you've considered, what you see as negatives and positives for this change. It kind of seems to come out as, here's a change. If we knew why they saw it this way and what they thought it was going towards, and articulated a bit more of those reasons, I think we could all digest these big changes more easily.
Yeah, and like they're asking us for feedback and for ideas on how to proceed, but we don't actually have the information about what they're thinking and why they're taking the specific approach that they're taking. Makes it a little difficult.
The biggest concerns I have with the system they're putting in place is twofold. One is the ability to be malicious with those. And two, you're going to come into a situation to where now players are going to... It's going to change the dynamic in orgs. Players are going to come to orgs say, well, you want my slots, make me a legate. Or you want my slots, I want so much quanta per month. It's going to... I know they're trying to encourage org cooperation, but in some ways it's also going to cause a lot of stress in orgs, because it's no longer going to be org members working together because of a common goal. It's going to be, I want this for that and this for that. You're going to pay me so much. It's going to become a financial dynamic. And if you've learned anything in real life, when you add any kind of value to something and financial to any kind of relationship, it tears apart that relationship. It's one of the biggest causes for divorce is financials. And
it becomes the most expensive thing in the game. Core count will be the new currency.
Yeah.
Deluxe, I don't think they've actually mentioned if they're going to decrease or change the personal course.
I think it's staying the same. It's 25.
So as far as we know, it's going to stay the same.
25, I believe it is.
No, it's 17, I think, with
17.
max talents.
25, no, it's 25 with max talents.
25 with max talents.
Oh, there you go.
That's the reason I said earlier.
The problem is when you start introducing things like vested interest, especially into org structures, you only have to look at Eve to see what can happen from simply just people becoming disinterested or disaffected, all the way down to, as I was speaking earlier, the malicious warfare side of things that can happen with this.
Well, one of the things Stecker brought up earlier is that even with the current RDMS system and other systems in the game, like there's risk involved. Like if you give somebody the RDMS to your ship, they can legitimately and within the rules fly it to PvP space, have someone blow it up, and there's no one to blame but you because you gave them the rights to fly it. Same with if you give somebody access to your factory and someone walks in and takes all of your schematics, that's if these are trust things, which I think is part of what we feel this is violating, is that we're being put in a situation, especially players with a lot of cores, where we have to trust other people, and that's really scary in an environment with no lemon laws, right?
Well,
But this goes to this actually.
the problem ourselves though. We can write Lua that prevents a ship from going outside of safe space. If we don't give them access to the cockpit, make them use our Lua, I can give you a ship that can't leave safe space. So there are new and interesting problems to solve, but they may already be solvable in the system.
Decker TV, Serapis, and panel, how do we players with too many cores adjust to the change? We're talking Panacea in like a few weeks to a month or two, not to mention people with lives. How are we even able to accommodate that change? 650 cores will take Serapis away from life for months. To be honest with you, if it comes to the point that they force it into effect as it is now, the castle in Alioth will be gone. A lot of the unneeded cores on the city will be gone. Most of my ships that I keep in my showroom will be structured limited down to a few. Any unneeded tiles will be gone. I'm going to pull back to the city on Thais, cut down everything that's unnecessary, and strip everything down.
So a lot of content or built structures that are really beautiful will be eliminated.
Yes.
Yep.
Well,
That's the problem right now.
Look at the fact of Serapis. He makes his living as a shipbuilder. People buy his ships for art collection. They buy them to use. They buy them to put it in the museum. You cut core count, it's going to come to a point, me as an organization, I got my fleet, I got my mining units, I got my factory. Your ship for me to buy your ship as a shipbuilder is going to have to replace something in my fleet that I don't currently have or I need a use for. So I'm going to have to tear down another ship to integrate and buy your ship.
Yeah,
So
I'll never do that.
His income
And
can come down.
Not only tear down that, but also waste the cost of the blueprint buying that ship
Plus,
or token. Yeah.
I have a lot of ships I'm going to have to tear down, and I run a big factory, and I'm going to have way overflowing parts. So I'm guessing about 90% of other people in this game. So what are they going to do? Well, I got my core count. If I'm going to buy another ship, I'm going to tear this one down, which is probably going to have 90% of the parts that one has, so I'm going to have to take them all to the market. So the market's going to get overflooded with parts.
Linear has Linear or XX Asylum Gaming has a statement. Why can't we store ships? Now,
Question.
this would be another dynamic that could be added to the game, but keep in mind, adding dynamics to the game require a lot of programming and time. These are not things they can implement quickly. If you could do something like store a core to where it would be basically compactified, and it would be something that would take a large amount of time to, unpack it or whatever, those kind of things would be a viable option, but those are a major addition to the game.
I'm not sure that's true because they do have compactified constructs already.
Yeah.
All you'd have to do is have it continue to have a mass and a volume. Like if they already let us have as many blueprints as we want, there's no restrictions on that. So if we could just compactify a ship and have it turn into a magic blueprint that or a building that continues to carry the same mass and volume that it had before you compactified it, then we haven't gained much in the way of gameplay advantage. All we can do is just move things around faster, and it reduces the amount of cores out in the world.
Yeah, I mean,
And you
I
can
think that would
actually
work, actually.
Adjust it so based on size and weight of the the core and whatever, you can actually make it so you can compact it no problem, but deploying it, you can actually make it so it might take you a day or more, depending on the size and weight to deploy the actual core.
Honestly, I think keep it simple. Just keep it to where the compacted item keeps the same mass and volume as the actual original strip would have.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Yeah.
That would be the simplest fix. Yeah.
If you do that, then you would have to have the storage for them, but they would not be counting to your core count. They would be stored data off to the side.
Yep, and that would also really help.
Yeah, the core functionality is already in the game system.
Because and I am sure Abadakis is marking this point on the stream. Am I right, Abadakis?
It is done.
But yeah,
and that would also really help with the malicious intent that we were talking about earlier. Like if you have 250 cores in your org, and suddenly a bunch of people quit, and you can only have 100 because they're literally attacking you via your core count. You could just go and compactify 150 structures.
Yeah.
And then sort it out later.
Now, I think compactification should be something that would be limited to dynamic cores, because static cores, trying to replace them with the current system is just going to be a damn nightmare.
Yep.
You know, so then you only have ships out that you need to be using at that time.
Yeah. Uncompacting a large core, static core would be hard to line up with another core. So.
Yeah. So
it also help us avoid the whole situation with trying to compact a mega factory or something like that. It would avoid that situation as well.
However, it would also help you essentially align them, right? Like if you're trying to align a blueprint and you deploy it and it's not right, that is a really crappy feeling.
Well,
if you could just compactify it and try again.
Well, that's true.
Compactifying a core, you're removing the element from loading in game. The data is still there in the database, but it is not something that players are having to render. The main thing we're looking at here is that would drop the actual bandwidth the server would be using, because everybody that flies by my castle won't have 50 to 100 ships loading. They'll just have the couple ships that I'm using on a regular basis load, which would be a major change in bandwidth the server is using. And I think that would be a very logical and reasonable situation for them to be able to implement, since the structure system's already in game.
Yep.
Well, and players are always looking for an increased quality of life, which is something we're not necessarily used to. And one of the things to lessen this blow, which has already been mentioned, is like compacting a construct into your backpack, or straight up taking a construct apart, but like not having to do it by hand and taking, you spent 2,000 hours building it. It's going to take you a while to take it down. But if you could just do it in one button, then like that makes that less painful. And there's a blueprint system in the game. So later, if you get your core count figured out and you want that weird looking building again, place the weird looking building.
See, Grevlin has a thing. A builder could sell ships with a kiosk in this manner. If I could compact ships, place them, compact them, put them in a kiosk, sell the compacted version of it, that would be another dynamic.
A fantastic addition to the gameplay.
The biggest thing that I would see. Okay, my brain just went blank. We were discussing. Okay, there are other things that we could add to the game that would help in this, but the compactification is something that's already in the game, so it's expanding on an existing dynamic. If we're going to come up with a solution that they're going to entertain, it needs to be something that's a simple adjustment to an existing dynamic. We cannot be adding new systems to the game.
Yeah, so it seems like kind of like a readjustment to the cores, like for the orgs.
Yeah.
However that is, I'll leave that to the numbers, folks. Like, seems realistic. And also, the compactification is something we can offer up as like, maybe it's realistic, maybe it's not. I don't know the specifics of it, but seems more realistic than we need this brand new system that's going to take months away. Yeah. It's good. It's good. It's part of why, like, I think it's important to have conversations like this in general. Like, it does feel like the roller coaster. It does feel like they have now said, like, go to the forums, make sure we go to the forums. So everybody needs to make sure they do that. There has been a sentiment in the past, right, that I've met a lot of players that say, I don't go to the forums, I don't submit tickets because NQ doesn't listen. Well, we still have to do that. Like, put in the tickets, put in the forum posts. Like, that extra bit of effort is going to matter more now than ever. Because everybody in this channel and watching this stream, 70 people, we want this game to be good and to succeed. Like, we've all invested so much. Like, and some people are brand new and they're like, you have to remember too, as much as it's crazy to be a doomsayer, right? Like, we know NQ can change in a few days, so keep having these conversations, keep giving that feedback to them, even if sometimes it feels like they're not listening, or maybe they're not, whatever, just give it. Like,
yes. Now
and also, guys, please be polite. If you go ranting, it does no good whatsoever.
Yeah, keep putting out these ideas, because this idea was based off of what someone in chat said. Just saying.
So, if they were to make these changes, follow me on this, and guys, give me feedback on this. In chat, I want you guys to listen and give me feedback on this. If they made these changes, change the private cores to 50, Do a base org core that players can contribute at 15 and increase that by 5 to 10 per level instead of the 2 per level. Set a hard limit on the orgs. Put it like 500. You know, it doesn't need to be 1600. Who really needs 1600 core slots? You know, that's kind of counterintuitive to me.
I could use it, but that's just me.
And then expand the compactification to all cores, but at least keep original mass of the larger cores that don't meet the typical compactification requirements, so you have to store them in a container.
Yeah, let's still let people be ship collectors.
My only beef with that is something that I suggested in my forum post is better RDMS, because like I've got alts, and if I'm going to be having to use my personal cores for personal ships, right now I literally don't use any of my personal cores. I literally don't use one unless I have a pocket rocket out, because it's just way too much of a hassle to try and sort out the RDMS when there's no tags that I can use to just universally say, like, just share everything.
Yeah, there is. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. So you just say you got a bunch of alts, you put them all in a pocket org, or even you don't have to put them in an org. And there's an RDMS tag called all. So if you're sharing your stuff with your own person, there's a tag called all. It will apply to all tags that you own or that org owns. Works great.
Does that actually work? I'll have to try that. Well, that helps then.
There's a lot of things I've had in my mind in regards to things they can add to the game, but once again, these are new things that would have to be developed and added to the game. Like one thing, inactive cores. So what if orgs had the ability to assign cores as inactive showroom cores, inactive cores? They don't render until you get super close to them, things like that. Reduce lag on the server. They wouldn't count towards core slots, but you can't actually use them. They're just sitting there looking pretty. You know what I'm saying? You can't run any industry on them. You can't put fuel on them. You can't access the containers. It's basically a fancy model. That would be one thing they could do. It would allow people to have their showrooms, but reduce server lag. So there's a lot of other things they could do in regards to mitigating the bandwidth usage. And let's be honest about it. The bandwidth usage is our issue. When you're looking at Amazon's servers, which is what they are using, the bulk of your monthly cost is your bandwidth that you use, not your hard disk space you're taking up. The drive space is a very small variable compared to your bandwidth you're using. So if we're going to make changes or suggest changes, they have to be things with that in mind. How are we going to reduce the bandwidth to make the server both perform better and reduce the regular cost to the game company? Does that make sense, guys?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I also just want to call back. Fjord asked earlier if we're basically like if we're on topic for working towards their stated objective. And I just wanted to quickly poke back to something that Deckard said in the chat earlier, which basically, if I'm understanding it correctly, is that it seems like the pressure is that they want to have a hard limit on number of cores that's possible to exist based on number of players in the game.
Yeah.
So if you have 100 players, you know that there can only be 1,000 constructs, or whatever the ratio is. Yeah. They want to settle in on a ratio that is manageable and achievable and maintainable.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out a basis for active paying or actually active accounts. You know, so if you have 1,000 active accounts, because that's what they're looking at, because that represents income. So if you have 1,000 active accounts, you know how many cores per active account you're going to have. So I think that's the reason why I understand a lot of people want more than 50, like 100, 150 private cores. I'm just afraid that if you push too far, they're just going to say no instead of going into a conversation.
I think Decker TV had not a bad idea. He says he liked the idea that the core slots for the org would not be based on me giving you cores for the org. Just me joining your org gives you those cores. So when I join the org, you get 10 cores for me joining you.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. If you have leadership skills, then you get those extra cores.
Physics. Personal cores and the org slots you can donate to your org are two separate things. You will have your personal cores. And then you will also have a set of cores that you can give to the org of your choice or allow them to utilize. Those are 2 separate counts. They do not interact with each other. They do not affect each other. Sorry, we had a major question going on.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
To go back to kind of Fjord's point, it's addressing a symptom. It's not addressing the core problem. The core problem is nested organizations allowing people to effectively expand their core count without limit. By putting this core limit on each individual player, they are addressing the symptom of that, but the fundamental problem is nested organizations allowing this effectively unlimited core count to be used.
If that's the only reason, why are they going through such a complicated setup?
Because the last time they tried to introduce try to remove the nested organizations, there was such a furore in the feedback, they felt that they were doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And you think they think this is going to be better?
No, I don't think this is going to be worse. I think they should go back to the original idea of getting rid of nested organizations and not be so scared of the negative feedback.
I think as a collective community, we're all in agreement that what they're trying to do now is way worse than their first idea.
Yeah. Asylum Gaming or Linear could change nested orgs to alliances like other games. So they're treated differently. So it's not necessarily that you're, nesting the org for the core counts. You're just associating yourself with the other org as an alliance so that you have benefits to that alliance. You're not benefit each other org count wise or stuff like that. The primary org would still be required to have a person in charge. But I think honestly that was the one dynamic that should have been changed a long time ago. I think nested orgs should have never been an option. I think they should have had alliances, but I don't think nested orgs should have ever been an option.
Yeah, because alliances would allow us to use our alliance members' warp beacon, for instance, or something like that.
Yeah, you'd be able to share warp beacon networks. You'd be able to share, tags. So like, you PvP, access. You'd be able to see each other.
You'll have access to their ships or whatever.
How about rewarding active subscriptions by giving them a better core count so that encourages more people to active subscription?
Well, that's the thing. If you're you mean like versus beta and alpha?
Yeah, paying accounts versus non-paying accounts.
Oh, the problem with that is the promises were made to those alpha and beta accounts.
Yeah.
Those were people that invested in the game before the game was even playable. So they took a big chance putting a decent amount of money for some people into a product that wasn't even realized yet. So you can't really penalize them.
And that's a short-term problem because as soon as they go to release, all the beta accounts go away.
Exactly.
Yeah, and honestly, I think they're really pushing for release, probably for exactly that reason. I think they're trying to get so-called feature complete so that they can push it out the door and start getting income from every account.
Yeah, and the big... honestly, my biggest fear is I've seen a lot of other games do this. EVE did this. They went pure pay to win. And I want to make sure this game avoids that model. That would kill this game for me, to be honest. They can keep that crap with cell phone games. We don't need it on this.
Avoid the pay to win. Now, some games that have like the the skins and stuff like that, where you can get a new skin or something like that, you're not getting anything super beneficial from it.
I would pay so much to be able to have like gold doors and stuff like that. I'm already considering buying more alts just to get gold doors.
Buy doors or something like that, or skins, or I would love to see them implement, a situation where someone could design a skin, and then if it gets picked up like a workshop, and supply those skins to the rest of the world where they can actually play and buy those skins or something.
See, I only
but
have
again,
3
you've got to
accounts.
think skins require dev time.
Yes,
and they are considerable. It requires considerable dev time because they're graphic assets.
Already buy the current in-game skins if they could versus buying alts.
Yep.
Probably a lot of people.
that would require no dev time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would do that.
It would require a website designer maybe to set something up, but they already have that with the, registering for the game.
Well, how about, you're talking about skins, and most people can make things their own in the game, right? But let's say they had, like, Serapis. Let's say he said, hey, NQ, here are some ships that I've built, and if you want to sell them through the game, right, where people can buy it for real money or something, then I'm willing to let you use it for a month. And then they have a list of people that have donated, hey, this is my build, and then just show a picture or something, and then they can buy that, and then that'd be an income for them.
I think that's going to be going too far into the
pay to win.
Well, I don't think it's pay to win, but I think it's a very short step from it. And I really don't want to do anything to encourage them to move in that direction.
Yeah, it's pay for influence.
Yeah, but this is people's builds. This is what's already been built in the game. Right?
Yeah. And Tony Fresh, thank you for the follow.
So
the thing is,
it's not giving them any more power or anything.
But how do you stand by it? Someone could approach NQ saying, "I've got a build. Will you,
I'm not
sponsor it?"
I'm not talking about keys. I'm talking about a blueprint or something.
That's fine, but it's anyone could do it, and they could give NQ a bad build without NQ realizing it, and then that's actually detrimental to NQ's reputation. Is that they promote a bad build that people buy, spend their in-game money on, or potentially real-world money, depending on how they move forward on it, and they get a bad reputation that way. It's a difficult thing for NQ to stand by when they don't know what the quality of the product that they will be promoting would be.
NQ's already doing that. They got their little store that's there, and I don't think any of those ships are any good.
They've actually, I think they're going to steer away from this because of that. They have caught a lot of hell over that.
Yeah, the fact that even the store ships after the update were still clipped. Like devs and builders went into those ships, readjusted them for things like the break update and things like that. And then another update came out for the game, and those ships that are sold on the store are still broken.
Yeah, I built a ship just the other day, and it was broken a couple of days later.
Okay, so just a heads up, guys. Tonight will not be a normal 3 or 4 hour stream. This is only going to be a 2-hour stream. So, mainly because I want to make sure that the stream is something that's viable for NQ Decker to actually watch, because he wants to present the stuff from the stream to the developers. So I want to make sure that it is something that's viable for him tomorrow to be able to do that with. And keep in mind, he will be watching the stream, so he'll see all of your comments in chat as well and hear the discussion. Okay, so what do we suggest this? And I'm going to state this again. Give me your feedback on this, okay? If we do the private course, because everybody's been saying 100, 150, whatever. So, okay, what do we cap it at 100 with max skills, level 5 skills? You have to have max skills, you have 100 private cores. Those have to be in your personal name. 15 base orc cores, 10 per level. I would still set a hard limit on the cores. It may be, even if it's 500 or 1,000 per org, set a hard limit. Because if you don't set a limit on that, it's going to be absolutely stupid. And then expand the compactification to all cores. But on anything that does not meet current compactification requirements, those things would have to be compactified to a container with enough volume and mass to contain them.
I don't think it's a bad idea. Like 100 counts, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
It would increase it slightly, but still, it
Wait,
needs
what did
to be
Deluxe
addressed.
say
We're
that
getting 275 cores it you know, and the infinite nesting things that needs to be addressed. You know, we can't go through this and expect us to get the 275. You know, and infinite things. There has to be like some give and take here.
Well, the biggest thing is they have to adjust the numbers, because right now the way it's going to be implemented can be weaponized, and you don't want that to happen, because it's going to do the opposite of what they're looking for. It's going to, you know, scare people away from those orgs. They're wanting people to work together, so the less it's weaponizable, the better. You know, the compactification of larger dynamic cores would go a long way on this. PvP crews could build their ships, preset them up, compactify them into containers. They don't count towards org cost slots until they're ready to pop them out and use them. Same for mining ships. Same for, you know, whatever ships that you want to keep built and ready. You know, it would allow you to keep those ships on hand without having to have them active in-game. So I think that would be a big dynamic that's in an existing structure in-game that would allow us to not be completely boned by this. And it would allow the builders to be able to build without having to screw themselves.
Yeah.
And screw their org.
Yeah, I certainly agree that the numbers as they've been proposed are far too small. However, I still think this is a band-aid on a broken bone. They need to address the nested organization issue. That is the fundamental problem. And then they can look at core counts afterwards.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think we're going to get that, though. I think, from what Deckard is saying, I think at this point, the system of having org slots that you can attribute to orgs at will is the system that we're going to be seeing, and we have to figure out something that fits within those bounds.
I can see they put the dev work, but they've also put the dev work in for the nested organization. That was ready to go. They didn't deploy it because of all the negative feedback.
Yeah.
So it's not like that solution is a completely new set of work that they have to start.
I think as it stands now,
how long? Okay, so how long would you guys say, in chat, I want you guys to reply to this, okay? How long would you guys say would be an adequate amount of time for preparation to remove nested organizations? And I'm looking for distinct answers and feedback on this because I want this to be in the video. And
yeah, we've already unnested everything that we had.
I know, but
we still got a couple. Yeah, I know, but when they gave us the first kind of scare, we had a lot of nested orgs, and we fixed that. But
how long did it take you?
It wasn't actually too bad. It took us probably a week working with 3 of us.
A week.
So yeah, I would say 2 weeks just to
2 weeks. I'm seeing a lot of people in chat
2
say
weeks.
2 weeks.
How long did it take
is a good
DIA?
time.
I think it was done over about a month between 2 or 3 of us.
Well, we know that there's a lot of people that are not in game, so I would give it more than 2 weeks, because you got those people that won't get the information until late. That's good for active players, but people, maybe there's a person that only plays once a week or something like that. All of a sudden, hey, I only got 3 days. That's not going to work. So you're going to have a little bit of time for people to catch up.
Actually, that does raise an interesting point about notification. It's something that was discussed about the tile abandonment and things like that, is that all the notifications would be in-game only. This is a significant level above that, and it was suggested for the tile abandonment that email notifications go out to people.
I thought they did.
They didn't. No, they decided against that.
Yeah, I know.
And this is because this is such a level above that, and it impacts people specifically and directly, rather than just, oh, I've lost a few tiles, that's unfortunate, let's go find some more. This has to be a more directed notification campaign as well.
Yeah, but the problem is the system to do that. They have that in place. But, okay.
So here's the problem that they have. Because emails and opt-in got notification, They can't simply blast emails to every subscriber or previous subscriber
Yeah.
because they violate some laws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Gremlin
the
makes a
reason why
good
they didn't
point.
do it.
If you don't log in for a month, do you really care about changes? I hate to say it, but he's not wrong. I mean, if you have not logged into the game within a month, you know, and if they send out notifications that these things are coming ahead of time through media and social media, things like that, you're going to have you could have social media notifications like they do with the dev blogs. You're going to have a lot of crap like that.
I was gonna say, let's expand that to not just log in, but not look at any of the
there's a
Discord,
lot of
forums.
But then you've got the other side of things. Is people are saying it in chat. Real life happens.
Yeah.
You can have a bereavement. You can go into a serious illness. You could move and your internet provider not set you up for a long time. These are all real things that people have experienced. That certainly I know of and been chatting with them about.
Well, let's talk about in-game things, okay? So in-game things, I'm a gamer, and sometimes I like to play something else. So, so you get stuck in that, and you're like, I want to beat this before I go back, and sometimes it's a month. So
but you'll be aware of what's going on. You're going to see Twitter posts. You're going to see things like that.
Well, I don't usually read all that stuff. So the only way I knew things were changing in DU, because I was playing New World there for a month or two, and the only way I knew anything new was happening was from other people in Discord that I play were sending me messages, and I knew things were changing.
Yeah, but you found out.
Yes. But I'm just saying that, there's more. I don't even remember what our point was. I'm just saying there's other reasons not to be in for a month or two.
Yeah.
And then there's sickness and real life stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, I hate to say this, and please don't take this the wrong way, guys, in stream and those in channel. Whenever you're doing this, these guys are here to make money. They're here for a profit. While I know they care about the game, they care about the community. This is their livelihood. This is their paychecks. This is what they put food on the table with. This is a business. You can't make money trying to make everybody happy.
No, that's fair. But with this change, they are going to lose.
No. What I'm saying
customers.
is about the notifications and all. Reaching out and make sure everybody knows ahead of time. You're never going to be able to reach everybody. People are going to have real life crap. That's just part of life. You can't coddle them. You can't wipe their diapers. You can't pet their bums. Stuff's going to happen. Crap. I had my house cut in half. I was gone for 3 months. If my crap had got wiped while I was gone for 3 months, it'd have been like, yeah, whatever, real life first, I don't care. It's a game.
If they need money, why don't they release the DAC system that they should have done ages ago, and it would bring money into the game?
Yeah.
The what system?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
It's
First time I've heard of it.
It's game time codes.
Gotcha.
Yep. But
So is that like Plex? That's like the Plex or whatever they have in EVE?
Yep.
So
We're getting off topic.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, Storm's right. Back to topic. So, if we proposed a roadmap to this, we all agree that they need to remove nested orgs. Nested orgs do not really have a place in game. I don't think they should have ever been in game to begin with. I think it should have been an alliance mechanic instead of a nested org. So say they do this. Just go with this pattern. They're going to give us a 1 month headway. 1 month for removing nested orgs. Once the nested orgs are removed, you've got 1 month and we're implementing the core changes.
Well, with nested orgs removed, you wouldn't have to implement the core changes.
No, I think the core changes would still need to be implemented for long-term growth of the game. Because
I think it needs to be adjusted. Yes.
Not so drastic.
No, I'm saying adjusted numbers implemented. And the reason for that being is what the system they're in implementing, it would be a reliable way of judging the number of cores in game based on players, active players. I think that would be 2 steps in the right direction if they adjust the numbers.
Yeah, I think I'd love to get a consensus from everybody in chat and stream.
Let's do a vote.
Getting rid of the nested org, I think, is definitely a thing.
I am going to post something, and this is what I've been taking notes from. This is a generalization and common denominator of numbers that I've been getting from chat and voice. Okay. There we go. That did not post well. Actually, I'll post this in Discord because it'll make more sense in Discord. So in announcements and Discord, if you look there, I'm going to post it there. There we go. That makes more sense. So if you guys are in Discord, look at Discord, and then under announcements I post. This is kind of where I'm getting a good, I want you guys to go into Discord, people in stream, people in voice chat, and vote. Thumbs up or thumbs down. How do you feel about those?
Are we voting on 100 private cores with a maximum 15 base org cores?
So it'd be 100 private cores with max private core skills, 15 base org cores per player with 10 per level additional, with a max of 1,000 cores per org.
Alright, so are those 15 base orgs character sending? And then the 10, it goes to the org no matter what?
No. It's the same system they have now. So the players would have to, but it would just be increased numbers.
So the players would have to have the skill and not the leadership.
Yes.
Basically, he's combining a little bit of what's already in the game with what they're planning to implement in the game. They're already working on the code for it.
Yeah, I'm trying to utilize what they've already built and adjust the numbers to make them more accommodating without forcing them to rewrite the entire system.
So 100 private cores would be more than we have now.
Yeah,
so
by a
then
lot.
they wouldn't be so reluctant to hold on to those org cores.
Exactly.
Right. So the short term, the private orgs, the 15 org base startering, and then the 10 at each level with a maximum of 1,000 for each org. That's short term would work great. That would be a fix that they could implement. With the update they're doing, just a minor change to what they're planning, and it's acceptable. Now the long term, looking down the road, trying to figure out doing the coding to do the compactification things. Yes, we know that some of that data is already in there, and it might not take too much to actually expand on it, but that would be a roadmap item down the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
The private core is very hard to manage the RDMS and share with org mates. Yes and no. It's easy to. It's got some work wiggle to it, but the main thing of this is making sure this is actually going to reduce the number of required orgs, because the average player wouldn't need a personal org like Fjordbase is saying. They would just have their cores in their personal. So this is going to cut down the number of unnecessary orgs in game, which is less data. So that actually has other benefits above and beyond the reduction of structures.
And don't forget, there is a pass coming for the RDMS system as well. So
yeah, the RDMS system is getting a big revamp. So you're going to have a lot better setup with that too.
Because with that situation you just posted there, Seraphis, it'd be a lot easier for an individual player like myself, to play to have his ships build, keep building, and then go something like the castle, or another group that does ship sales. Or even form a new ship group sales, like the Captain Customs or the ship the castle, or Loaded Industries, for example. Make your own if all fails. Join up with people and add your points together to be able to do a group showroom.
I would love this system because I would consolidate everything into the XPX org. I would move everything to the city on Thades. Everybody could have their 100 personal cores. Then I would give them, they could have places at the city, they could build towers, whatever they want to the city, contribute to that. It would be a big community project, but then they would also have their personal abilities. And it would remove the need for nested orgs, it would remove the need for personal orgs and all this other crap. You have your ability to have your privacy without requiring to have all these little separate sub-orgs.
Yeah, and going with the sub-org thing, you have. This is a good conversation for NQ to bring up because you got all these people doing their own individual cores so they can have, orgs so they can have more cores, and it's causing people to play by themselves and not play as a group. So this conversation coming up is gonna, and the change will probably force more people to work together.
Yeah,
and it's a good thing that we're having this conversation right now.
Well, if we went with this route and we proposed this, the main benefits to the game would be that, first of all, we would be discouraging random private orgs. You don't need them. That's a lot of database entries that could go bye-bye really quick. There's a lot of people that are going to close those private orgs because they don't need them. The org slots that they have available can go to an org they want to support because it's not going to be a detriment to themselves.
Can I ask one question about the suggestion?
What?
Why do we still have get rid of nested orgs? Like, if we're using the system of you have to apply your core count to the orgs that you choose, is there actually any particular relevant benefit to getting rid of nested orgs anymore?
One of the
because that was the fundamental problem.
Yeah. And one of the biggest problems with nested orgs most people don't touch on is it actually adds a lot of complexity to the database back end of the setup. There's actually been a lot of errors in regards to that as far as the server goes. When you're looking at databases and you nest ownership of orgs and things like that into each other, it causes a lot of cross entries. And with a database, the fewer number of cross references and cross entries you have, the better the longevity and stability of that database. There is a such thing called degradation when it comes to databases and files. So anything we can do to make the overall database healthier and require less maintenance makes the game perform better and our game experience better.
There's also accounts right now that have tunes with, they're in like 15 orgs, right?
Oh, there's one guy I know of that still has close to 40 orgs because he joined them all before the limits were in place and they didn't force change it.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of weird stuff that happens with all the systems, but
yeah, and also nested orgs adds a lot more complication to RDMS. If they completely removed nested orgs, it would simplify RDMS a lot.
Yeah, blinding bright. It doesn't fix the cause. What it fixes is the ability for people to exploit the nested organizations to get an unlimited core count. What we're proposing here is kind of a two-pronged attack in limiting the amount of cores we can have.
Okay, make sure everybody in chat joins that Discord. This Discord is a setup Discord for this. We're going to be doing this Discord on this stream on a regular basis in this Discord. It's a secure Discord for this only. Join that Discord. You'll see the Discord rules channel. Read that. Go to rules acceptance. Type accept it. Then we'll give you roles. If you look in the announcements channels, you'll be able to see where I posted. All you got to do is click the thumbs up or thumbs down to vote. Okay? This is kind of a generalized summary of what I've been seeing all night, what people saying. It's kind of like an averaging out. And it's also something utilizing the things they've already built. They don't have to make something new to make this work.
But then also think about like the very purpose of everything is to make sure that like we as a community can at least offer a coherent, well thought out, like you can say all the words over and over and over, like we're giving them more than kind of and so like even though this conversation has happened here now, it has the ability to adjust as we move, right? Like these are some of the things we've thought about, and as we continue to digest the changes in the conversation tomorrow, you may wake up and say, oh man, this idea and this idea, but also keep in mind, NQ's got a lot on their plate. They might not take everything here and everything might not turn into something actual, but what I think is totally possible is that you see some sort of like part of this conversation in the changes to the game. Do we
Can I get a GM totally? To check the rule accepted channel, please, and start processing?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, dude. I apologize for that.
No, you're good. It's just like we just kind of have to like take it as if we throw goodness out there and they can see something good and they can pluck it, then cool. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, but at least we're having a positive conversation about it rather than that gut punch knee-jerk reaction of like, holy shit, what does this actually mean?
Gunner Rage Blackout said, what blog discussed DAC if there was one?
I don't think there was one. DAC just kind of came up as part of the discussion of how to raise extra funds to keep this issue from effectively kind of shooting everyone in the knee.
Okay.
DAC was a backer perk that is yet to be implemented.
I do like that idea. We're getting close to wrapping up, aren't we?
The vote
how long has it
under
been?
discussion.
Okay, so clarification, nested orgs meaning headless orgs. Silva asked that in discussion chat. Yes. Organizations that don't have an actual person as the superlegate.
So the vote is being taken place in the announcement channel in the Do You Think Tank.
If there's anybody that's watching this that is from NQ, I think that it'd be a good idea to forward any kind of concerns or things that you have on your side so that we can discuss them. And maybe we can come up with an answer on the gamer side of things. And I also suggest that you go ahead and anybody that's watching puts in their own ideas, because we'd probably use that. I mean, for instance, we used one of your guys' ideas already, and compactification of larger stuff, which is a good idea.
Yeah. Now, remember, this is just something... Okay. The things I typed in there are things that I feel like they would be willing to accept.
Right.
I don't want to push too hard. If we try to say, oh, we want 200 private cores and we want 100 cores per level for what, they're going to just flat out say no and walk away from the conversation. Because that completely defeats the purpose. So we're going to have to meet them at a point that's uncomfortable for us and uncomfortable for them. Somewhere in the middle. It's something we can function with and be happy with and play with. But at the same time, it has to be something that is financially responsible for them.
A lot of people, you got to remember, we also are trying to build a game. So, building the game and long term, we got to think long term. Now, as far as functioning, 1,000 cores.
Ethan Tor was the one voted down. Ethan, what is your issue? I mean, I'm not like being. I really want to know what is. Speak up and explain why you voted down. We want to know.
He has to get pulled earlier because he was going to say, but
you want to bring him in? He's in the holding tank.
Bring him in.
Ethan, you're in.
Thank you very much. My thumbs down was because there's a lot of items on that list to vote for, and although most of them I think are great ideas, things that NQ will most likely accept, I'm not a super big fan of the idea of reducing the organization max from their pre-described 1625 down to 1K. That's all.
Okay, and how many people in chat would like to see that removed? Just say yes in chat, in stream chat.
So we're talking about moving orgs from 1625 to 1,000 cores?
Yeah, just leave the max limit like they're saying now.
Or, the max limit that they're suggesting as the max limit is what they're...
Okay, there we go. Done.
So that's what the problem is the max limit would be lowered.
Okay.
Well, that means he can get rid of his thumbs down and...
Leave the max is fine. Okay, got it.
If anybody else in chat has sees something on that list that they don't like, please speak up.
Yeah.
Or something that they would like to add, speak up. We'll talk about it. And even though we're coming close to our end time here.
Yeah, we got 20 minutes left, so we're fine.
I'm sure this won't be the last time when we do this. This is only the starting of the first time we do this. And
Buck Bavarian, thank you for the follow.
We'll have many more conversations, I'm sure.
But okay, so we remove the 1K limit. Just leave it to what they have to the set limit. I think honestly, and I'm going to propose this to NQ Deckard this way. Making these changes is going to remove the need for personal orgs. And it's going to make people more willing to work with a primary org. So I think that's going to be our primary selling point on this, because we're giving them a major win, while at the same time taking one ourselves.
Great. And the main reason why people create personal orgs is because they've got so few personal core numbers.
That's why I did it.
Yeah.
Now, will that actually lower their data usage?
I think the big thing that's going to lower the data usage is the expanded compactification to all cores. That's really going to lower a large amount of bandwidth usage, because that's going to take a lot of cores that don't need to be there and put them in containers, so they won't be loading for people.
Oh god, I would do that to so many of my cores.
It also helps save people ships, where they could buy a ship, have a collection, and display them if they want them, but would not have to worry out, waste it. There's some people out there have some huge collections.
Yeah.
That they'd have to just delete the ships, and some of them you can't even get anymore because people have built them to
remember,
harden the
what
game.
we're saying is these larger compactified ships, if they do not meet the current requirements for a compactified ship, they would have to be compactified into containers that could hold the ship itself. So you might have to compactify it into 10 expanded extra large containers and have ships in that. But it would still be removing it from the rendering of the game, which is what will cut the cost of server. That will reduce your server bandwidth and reduce the monthly cost of server.
Right, so if you have some big ships, you might need multiple hubs set up with expanded XLs in order to accommodate all those ships, which could actually be quite a warehouse of ships, but at least they're not in the game world. It's going to save the game world quite a bit.
Here's a hint for all you guys out there: start making containers, because I bet you they're going to start selling them.
So, basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to find a viable solution to give to the developers. Say, hey, let's go forward with these changes. And if we go forward with these changes, it's going to give you what you want, because it's going to remove a lot of things that are causing bandwidth usage. But it's also not going to punish the people that have done well in game.
When you send that message, you might want to ask for a response or a reply back on what their feedback is on what we're proposing. That way we can do another episode and say, oh, this is what they said. Let's talk about this, and how can we accommodate what they want.
Yeah. Now, remember, this is not going to be an immediate response. Deckard's going to be waking up here in a few hours to go to work. I'm sure he's going to see all this. I'm going to type up something to send to him. I want to thank everybody that has been participating tonight in text chat. You guys have been amazing, and stream chat's been awesome. This has been a really good conversation. I have never been the type to fanboy a game, so you will never see me fanboy this game. I love the game, don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to be sitting here all worship the ground it walks on. That's not my style. But
if you Serapis.
I think that's one thing that's important, though. Anybody that's mitigating a conversation cannot be a fanboy. Oh my god, that's the worst possible thing I could have done.
Yeah. So, you guys, if somebody said something in chat and it hasn't been, you didn't see it talked about here, you might want to post it in the Discord, right? So we can, someone will probably eventually read it or answer to it. And we might even bring it up in chat later on. So I just don't want you to think that we're not listening to you. There was just a lot of information popping on here.
Yeah, tonight, chat was kicking tonight, y'all. I mean, chat is active, and it's... okay, for those of you in stream, I have to give you guys some mad respect. You guys have kept the stream respectful. You have kept the stream logical. You have kept the stream chat we've had one moderation issue the entire time.
We've actually had some constructive discussions in chat tonight.
We have achieved a lot tonight. You guys are amazing.
Honestly, like I said earlier, we're probably going to do this more. I mean, with the days coming, with their reply and response to the situations tomorrow, I'm sure there's going to be some talk in the next few days about this update, because this is going to affect the global player base. So,
and in future,
maybe we can talk Cerberus into doing this tomorrow if we get a response back.
If we get a response back, we'll do this again tomorrow night, just so you guys know.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of bringing people that are in chat. Like if we're watching chat and everybody's noticing, hey, this is a good idea from this person, like Decker TV. I would have liked to have brought him in and have him explain it a little bit more, what he's talking about, but that's a good idea, because like you brought in someone, why did you say no, so that's a good idea, and it involves them a little bit more on the chat side too. So if we start seeing somebody in and everybody's saying, hey, this guy's doing good stuff, let's ask him if he can come in and join us.
Yep.
Oh, join you?
Well, hello.
Hello.
Hello, Blinding Bright. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, well, I mean, disheveled. kind of feeling the pain a little bit. I don't know. It's kind of a loaded question.
Disheveled is my natural state.
I had to squint my eyes to see it show up there.
Yeah, trust me, it was a bit of a knee jerk to me too today. I mean, like I said, I've got the castle and I've got the city on days. I've got two. Yeah, I was like, what?
Especially with recent updates.
I only posted about my personal base, but I'm also the super legate of Mattis Touch Industries, and we have a city around Market 3 on Mattis that has probably 400 cores alone. So like, I don't even know what to do. I mean,
look at the stream right now. You can see the city I'm standing at.
Yep.
Well, Seraph's been slowly becoming kind of a historian in the game at the moment, where people are leaving the game when they're giving him their old constructs, and he's kind of archiving these things. And yes, he is breaking things down, but he's still trying to keep as much as he can that he can manage. And within the last month or two, his core count has just probably doubled.
Yeah,
it's quite crazy.
Now we are going to be cutting out here in 12 minutes, just so you guys know. I want to keep this to a 2-hour stream tonight, because I really want to make this something to where Deckard's not trying to watch a 3 or 4 hour stream.
Yep.
And that after 2 hours, you tend to just ramble on about the same thing all over,
Yep.
And everything we have discussed tonight, I will be talking with Deckard about tomorrow. I will be going over things with him and going over things we've talked about, pointing out timelines in the video. That I'm going to be thorough about this. I want to make sure he understands what we've been talking about and what the concerns were from the players, all the way down to the possibility of it being exploited for PvP and screwing over gamers. There's a lot of things that need to be addressed. So
I just need to add that it shouldn't just be Deckard. Deckard's a great person. He's been great with.
Oh no. Deckard is being a bridge for us. Yeah.
The developers need to be out in front on this. We need to be talking and communicating with the developers. They need to be talking and communicating back. Having this veil of Deckard between us and them, it just feels so disingenuous right now.
Okay. I hate saying this, but my education is software engineering. My background is programming, and when I say my background, I have a master's degree in software engineering with a specialization in OS development. Most programmers are not people you want talking to your customers.
True.
I am not joking. These are not people you want talking to your customers.
No, but your lead game designer should be able to handle a conversation with your community. I mean, look at almost any other game development studio. Even as bad as New World is, at least their developers have a direct line of communication with the community.
Yeah, I believe that. I do agree with you. There needs to be somebody that's able to handle that. While NQ Pan was handling in some regards, I don't think it was a direct connection with the developers as it should have been. I think they need to have the project manager over the development team be in some ways responsible for community communication as far as the game development itself goes, because you get into the telephone game.
So
Exactly.
Forward Face says Pan was that person, so I guess he's gone now, right?
NQ Pan, she's gone. Today was her last day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
those are
to quench rumors, I'm pretty sure Pan got a job offer last month and took it. I don't think she got fired or anything.
No.
I know there's been
She
lot
got
of
a
stuff
job
going
offer
on.
from her real life
Yeah.
friend. The guy's like a little brother to her in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
So it's good terms. It's good
yeah.
terms.
I have. Actually, she's still going to be coming back to help him with copyright stuff too. Actually, I have Pan on Facebook. Sweet woman, wonderful woman, but a real life friend of hers that's very close, like family, has a project that he wanted to work on that was a really positive project, and he asked her for help, and she couldn't say no. She had to go help her friend. So that's the reason why she's leaving the company. And she's still going to be coming back to help with some copyright issue, but she's not going to be formally part of NQ anymore or handling that position.
And that's why I think now is the time for a developer within NQ that's comfortable speaking to the community and is willing to be a little bit of a whipping boy for both sides to hopefully step in and be more of a communicative presence. Because as much as I love Deckard, he is not a developer. And there's things I think are lost in translation when you have a development team that's so disconnected from their player base, which is very obvious by this announcement during a time that NQ is talking about remedying player issues.
Yeah.
I mean, this came at like the worst time for them.
I think
and I'm really hoping they can see what's an issue here and hopefully work through it. And
I think
have a
whoever
better
handles that needs to be somebody that has the capacity to at least understand the concept of what's involved in what they're asking of the developers, because that's a two-way road. I mean, yeah, they need to be able to listen to us and understand what we need, but they also need to understand the impact of what's being asked by the players of the developers.
Exactly.
That's a major two-way play.
Because otherwise, this situation is just going to devolve if they don't listen and do something that helps the game. This will become the game industry's dark irony example of naming an update with the exact opposite effect of what they're actually trying to do with the update.
Yes.
As Serapis, won't, like you said, we're rounding it up to the last few minutes. And, I think a good thing in the last 10 minutes of each one of our things is that we have, like, anybody that feels like in the community that's, in chat, any questions they feel like we missed, maybe they can bring that up and we can discuss it real quick. And that way we're not just talking about, just talking about the same stuff. You see what I'm saying? There might be something new that somebody said that we all missed. So it might be a good idea to say, hey,
Okay,
you guys.
real quick, let's look. We have the questions for Think Tank. Can the moderators look through the questions for Think Tank channel and make sure there's nothing we missed in there? Gremlin No New Texas. Could personal cores be assigned to orgs to give the org solid structure? No, personal orgs and org, the slots that they're allowing players to assign to orgs are two different things. Your personal orgs do not affect how many core slots you have available to give to an org.
I think you said a personal core be assigned. So could I give my 100 cores all to my personal org?
You could give RDMS for
whatever.
You can add your org to RDMS and allow them to use them. Yes.
Not exactly the same, but although having an RDMS that you could actually see the person's constructs on the map would be helpful too.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing we're looking at right now is with the system that we've talked about tonight, it would alleviate the need for personal orgs. Other than just saying you have that org. That would be the only need for a personal org.
No, I disagree because you would be able to see them, right?
Your personal cores you can see.
Well, so the big thing, we have personal cores and org cores. Why do we need to differentiate between the two?
Just let me assign any of my cores.
Yeah, just give us a core account. Let us assign cores as we need to either personal or org. And
I do actually see the point of separating that, though, is to encourage people to actually support their orgs instead of just hogging all their cores for themselves.
Also,
I
these
like
are
that.
systems that are already in game, and I hate to say it, but the more changes we recommend to existing structures, the less likely it is to happen.
Yeah.
So right now, they've given us they've given us a set of 4 walls. This is what we're programming. This is what's in the game. If you want something different, you need to work within these confines and find adjustments that will work that you can present to us.
Then the only adjustment at that point would be increasing the limits from what they currently have presented.
Did you look at the announcements channel in Discord?
I like the idea that you proposed on the orgs delegating out cores to members. But I do think that they need to have at least a minimum to get started with. Somebody new just in game is not going to know that.
Yeah.
And the main thing, it goes back to people only create personal organizations to keep their cores in because their personal core limit is so small.
Yeah.
Yep.
If we get more personal core limit, most people will not have to build an organization, which reduces server backing, data costs, but also it will make creators and builders more prominent in the org list because they use a personal org as a business front for selling their constructs.
Okay, from my perspective, and this is probably going to be kind of an odd perspective, but nothing would make me happier than to be able to take all of my personal orgs, confine them into one org under XVX names, have slots things under personal course. I have 3 characters. I don't have 10 or 20 like some people do, but I have 3 accounts. One of the accounts at alpha, one of the accounts at beta, and one of the accounts is paid. So I have the ability to have freedom in my building, but having that freedom would allow players to congregate into fewer number of orgs and support the orgs as a group. And I think that is what the game needs to go further. Have the orgs actually be something meaningful. Because right now, all the orgs are is a core count shell.
So Myth KY just brought up a point that we didn't discuss, which is probably something that should be discussed eventually.
Yeah. Okay, so we will probably end up carrying this conversation over to tomorrow night because we have elements and things like that. And I don't want these streams to go too long. So, Myth, we will discuss that tomorrow night, okay? I promise you we will discuss that tomorrow night.
They did also say they're delaying that change. Like, that was part of the thing, so they're not implementing that in Panacea.
Yeah. As a builder, 100 cores and expanded compactification, and I have 0 need for any orgs.
I do have over 100 constructs just for my mining units.
Yeah,
so.
But if you could compact your ship cores, and if you have, like I said, I have 3 characters. How many people in this chat have more than one account?
This guy.
So, if you have a couple accounts, you have enough to cover your mining. They might just be under an alt with the RDMS system.
Yeah. Just I can't see them in my map is really my main issue with that. Sometimes I don't know where they are. I'm on a ship that I don't have it programmed into the autopilot, and I need to find them. And then I'll have to switch characters in order to figure out where my constructs are.
Yeah.
But that's manageable.
But that would be things that fall under management.
Mm-hmm. But then addressing what 249 is saying, you've got to remember that single players owning large numbers of alts is a disparity because we're still in beta and we've got beta keys and we've got alpha backers with essentially more alts than would normally be running when the game goes through launch. So having to try and manage fleets of ships through various orgs and characters is something that's going to be much less prevalent at launch or after launch.
Sorry about that. I had a drink went down the wrong pipe. It's like, oh, don't want to be coughing everybody's ear.
Yeah, I think it'll be less common, but I mean, I pay for all my accounts.
Yeah,
I think a lot of us do.
Also, you got the biggest thing I'm thinking of is after the thing goes live, a lot of people that have all these beta accounts, like I know one guy has like 30-something beta accounts. I get the strange feeling he ain't gonna be paying to sub 30-something beta accounts. Because I know this guy. He can't do that. You know, there's going to be a lot of people that have tons of beta accounts that are currently being kept active in game to do stuff that are going to go bye-bye. So the number of, after that full release, with all those alpha and beta players that start paying every month, I think we're going to start seeing a lot better stability from the company. Yeah. I'll definitely pay for my 3 when they come out. Well, my other 2 when they come live. Hell, I might even get 2 more. But I just think that tonight we have found a reasonable. It might not be to everybody's optimal, but it is something I think they would be willing to take and digest and come back with. How do you guys feel? And be honest.
Yeah, I think it's manageable. I think they might switch their numbers around a little bit. Like, I don't know if they'll go with exactly what we suggested, but I think it gives them a ballpark that they can look at, and I think it's reasonable.
Yeah, it shows we understand that they've put in a massive amount of work so far, but we also feel that suggestions that come previously may be the better solution.
Yeah,
and they can do both. They can implement both.
Yeah. And I think we do need to keep that in mind. The biggest challenges they're trying to overcome is cost of time, because we're not just looking at server cost. Yeah, they have the bandwidth cost for the server, but every hour somebody's working on this game costs them, you know, and the more work they have to do before full release to rearrange things because they don't meet the way we like, the more cost there is that they have to mitigate without a full paying player base. So I think we need to be respectful of that, and we also need to be respectful of the time that NQ developers have to put in to make the changes they're asking for, because it is a job and it is a lot of work.
So I know we're getting close to the end. Can you read it out to everybody what we finally came up with?
So basically what we're looking at is, player orgs, private cores, and org cores are 2 different things. We've already established this. So a player would have, with max skills, a maximum of 100 private cores. However they divvy up that step up would be up to them. You would start off with a certain amount, level up your skills. You could have a max of 100 cores for a personal core. The org cores would still start off at 15 base org cores, but instead of increasing by a 2-core increment, we're looking at a 10-core increment per level to increase, keeping their current maximum of 1600 or whatever they said. The other thing to mitigate server bandwidth is to expand the compactification to all dynamic cores. This would allow you to compact your S, M, and L core ships, or any ships don't meet current requirements, into a container, but they would still require the same mass and volume that the ship would. So they would have to go into containers. This would also benefit shipbuilders, because then we could sell our ships that way and allow us to sell tokenized ships in a much more effective manner. However, you could not carry these on your person, and you could not deploy them just randomly. You feel like out in the random wild.
And that's because of weight and mass.
Yes. Volume.
Yeah, I don't think there needs to be a specific person carry restriction. Just the mass and volume will do that.
Yeah, that would be inherited because of the mass and volume. So I think if they did those things, it would allow us to have the core limits we want to a degree. Something that's halfway between what we want and what they want. And it would allow us to remove clutter while not having to give up the things we care about. So that would cut down the rendering and cut down server bandwidth. The other thing that we discussed was the removal of nested orgs, which are orgs that do not have a player as a super legate. So if they did that, removed the nested orgs, and implemented those changes with those levels, I think everybody would benefit from that. It would encourage players to drop private orgs and actually function as a combined org with a group of people. It would reduce the number of org counts in game by a lot. And I think it would reduce server lag a lot. Just so everybody knows, I'm going to give you guys XL cores. There is one primary reason XL cores will not be in game anytime soon. You know how much lag a L core causes with a full stacked-in factory. Can you imagine what it would do if somebody had an XL core chock full of factory? I mean, you wouldn't be able to fly around that thing.
I'd be okay if they were to add XLs, but limit it to no factory, no industries on it.
Hey.
But right now, XL cores are not part of the conversation. They're not even on the horizon.
Yep.
This is off topic.
Well, let's talk about some realness here. My factory has 8,800 elements in it. One core. That one core arguably has more data going on within it than most all of my other constructs combined.
Oh yeah. But how much would you fit in
how
XL?
How would you be able to compactify something that large? That's something.
Well, that's what I was saying. Static. It would be dynamic cores only.
Dynamic only, yeah.
So you'd be able to compactify all the shit you're not
right.
using on a regular basis.
But technically, it wouldn't require any more data than compactifying a dynamic, because it is simply element count, links, voxel, mesh.
Yeah, but a factory trying to compactify an entire factory. First of all, you have contents of containers, all that crap like that. You're never going to be able to put that in a single set of containers. It causes a lot of issues.
I wasn't trying to say to compactify. I was just giving the example. Like that one factory, data-wise, takes up what all of my other cores do, and this core count doesn't really, in my opinion, skew what they're trying to do with reduction in data.
Well, dynamic cores and static cores are also handled very differently by server. Well, the data in the static core is something that is a lot more intense than a dynamic core. It's also something that the server itself is able to compensate for, because from a programming point of view, the software knows when you're approaching that core. The software knows you're going to have to load that core. That's already implemented in the game to where it adapts for that. Dynamic cores are very random. The software can't plan for it until they pop in. So that's the reason why dynamic cores are actually a lot harder on rendering than static cores are, even with big factories.
I don't know if that's 100% true with their current implementation.
Well, we can throw out what we think, and then NQ can make those decisions and come on a feedback. Maybe they can feed it back to us and say, well, that won't work for us because of this.
And I do remember something a while ago, I can't remember the details of it, that they were thinking about trying to implement the change where statics were only rendered with the exterior voxel mesh, and all the industry only loaded in once you approached it at a certain distance. I have no idea whether that was implemented.
Yeah, that was implemented.
But that was the thinking.
You have to be an L core away before it starts rendering in.
Yep. They were looking at other changes to that in regards to the internal stuff not implementing until you actually entered the range of the L core, but I think there were other issues in regards to that. Because, could you imagine jumping back and forth between two L cores in a large facility? Be like, flash. That would be hell on a computer. God. I'm already getting 120, 130 gigs caches. Could you imagine what it'd be like having to reload that crap every 2 seconds?
No, I do, because every time I go across my outpost, I go back to the factory, and the game has to reload the entire factory, and it takes more than 30 seconds. It's a freaking nightmare.
I imagine your cache is probably through the roof.
It's gnarly.
I have to clear my cache every other day.
DJ Slicer said that he would like to be able to see the statistics for how much maybe your factory's using in so that's an idea maybe.
Okay, guys. So it is 11:09. We are past the 2-hour mark. I said I wanted to keep this at 2 hours, so we do need to call it quits for the night. We will pick this conversation back up tomorrow night. See how things are going. Let's see who else we got on Twitch tonight. Do we have anybody else in the DU community, or am I just hogging all the viewers myself?
Angry Dad, I think, is still going.
Is he actually still going?
This would be a big plop of people into
let's go raid Angry Dad, y'all. Let's go raid Angry Dad. Let's show him some major DU love, okay? Once again, everybody that came in tonight, thank you so much for keeping this civil, and thank you so much for keeping this well structured. You guys did an amazing job tonight in voice chat. You guys are awesome tonight. I cannot say thank you enough. You've been amazing tonight. Tonight in chat we have Abadakis, Ethan Tor, Blinding Bright, Drakistan, Flammable, Gelda 880, KBLA, Corazarius, Smallville 85, and Waka. We also had Rexelix earlier. Guys, thank you for coming to hang out. So let's do this raid.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a good one, guys.
Y'all come back now.
Yeah, let's go hit up Angry Dad and show him some of that DU love, y'all. I will see you all tomorrow night. Have a good night. Be safe. Take care.
Good night, everybody.
Say good night,
people.
Very well.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, hold on.